right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. It's Morgan here at Jotform. Thanks for joining us for today's Snack Break webinar, where I'll be diving into our direct Apple Pay and Google Pay form integration. Our session today is going to be pretty quick, around 12 minutes or less, hopefully, but you'll leave with two things. First, why this integration might be important to you, and also how you can set it up and get started with it. First things first, I want to talk about the arguments for mobile wallets in general and why they might matter to your customers. Offering payment options to customers has been shown to increase conversions, and with mobile wallet spending on the rise and projected to continue increasing over time, having Apple Pay and Google Pay as options increases the likelihood that your customers will complete their transactions. This integration also includes the ability to pay by credit card. So again, another option for your users, especially those who might be more inclined to use credit. Finally, Apple Pay and Google Pay are clean and accessible to both mobile and desktop customers. They're secure by all payment compliance standards, and they're global with currency conversion and language support in over 50 countries, opening you up to a whole world of customers. Happy customers and increased sales is probably enough of a reason for you to consider this option, but there are additional benefits to you as a seller as well. While Apple Pay and Google Pay were available on Jotform previously through certain payment gateways like Stripe Checkout, this new standalone availability puts Apple Pay and Google Pay front and center, making it faster and easier for you to implement. You can still support these options, both of them together, using Stripe Checkout, or if you just want Apple Pay as an option, you can do that using Molly. But in this case, all you'll need to do is look for exactly what it is that you're trying to add, namely that Apple Pay, Google Pay option. When you are ready to add that, you'll just find it in the form builder. From there, you can drag and drop it wherever you want within your form. You'll choose Square or Stripe Checkout on the back end to power it, and then you'll add in your products and you'll be ready to go. From there, customers will choose what they want and will be offered whatever payment options are compatible with their device or their browser. And as with any other Jotform payment options, you have flexibility over your products and product availability and won't be charged any additional fees from Jotform. So that is the background that I wanted to share. And on that note, let's go out into our demo. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so I'm starting the demo here in the form builder with a form already pulled up. This is an order form for my Halloween themed bakery, Spooky Sweets. You can see that it includes the pickup date, the person's name, and email and phone for confirmation, but notably, it doesn't yet include any actual products. So that's what we'll be adding with Apple Pay and Google Pay. In order to add that in, I'm going to go to the Add Form Element toolbar on the left, open that up by clicking on it, look for the Payments menu, and there you see Apple Pay and Google Pay before you even have to scroll. So it's right there, and you can just add it wherever you want on your form. So next, you'll see that you do have to, again, power this by either Square or Stripe Checkout on the back end as the payment gateway. Now, if you're interested in Stripe Checkout, I'm going to be showing Square today, but two things I want to note. First of all, the processes from here are almost identical, so you'll still learn everything you need to know, even if you're a Stripe Checkout user. I also wanted to mention that our Stripe Checkout integration is fairly new. It's less than a year old, and I did do a pretty extensive webinar when we rolled it out last year. We will link to that in the YouTube when we post this webinar. So if you want to see Stripe Checkout in action and want a pretty, a more in-depth version of today's session, really, I would recommend checking out that webinar as well. So just two important things to note there. But again, I'm going to use Square. So I'm doing that by clicking on Square and hitting continue. If you haven't connected Square at all previously, you'll have to follow a few steps to connect your accounts. But in this case, I have connected with Square before, so all I'll need to do is sign in. And once I sign in, you'll see this change to green with a check mark so we can confirm that I'm connected. And once you are connected, you'll have some basic settings before you go into the product itself. So first, you can switch between live mode and test mode. Test mode allows you to play around without actually having any transactions go through. You'll choose your business location. Currency, at least in my case here, is automatically set to USD because that's what's in my Square account. And then the last thing you see here is choosing what type of thing you are asking money for. So I'm going to be going through selling products. It is more detailed than the other two options, and there are more things to go through. So I want to highlight that because the other two are pretty much, they're pretty straightforward. But if you are a nonprofit and you're collecting donations, or you want to do a user-defined amount, like, I don't know if you're like me and you're playing all the variations of Wordle every day, most of them have this like buy me a cup of coffee thing. If you're doing that sort of thing, you'll use user-defined amounts. Either of those, all you're going to do is name the field once you add it in, so donation amount or whatever you want to call it. You can choose whether or not you want a request or a recommended donation amount to show up. That's generally thought to be best practice and tends to encourage people to donate a little bit more than they would have. And you can also select whether that recommended amount is a minimum amount that people have to donate. So that's pretty much the extent of what you need to fill in if you're using these two options. But for selling products, a little bit more detailed. So I'm going to select sell products. There are some additional gateway settings here, but they're pretty straightforward. And I recommend, again, if you want to go through these in more detail, there is that webinar, or you can always reach out to our support team with questions there. Once you are ready to move forward from these settings, hit continue. And that brings us to the actual product menu. So you can see here, this step is where I'm going to define my products. I can also add coupons, shipping and tax information, and invoices. So I will go through each of those, but I'm going to start by hitting this blue Create New Product button. Alternately, you can hit this Add Product button here on the form itself. So hit Create New Products, and then basically you're just going to go down the list and add in all the information about your products. So first we have the basics. Then there are some options as for applying different types of your product and stock options as well. So I'll go through that. But let's say I want to sell some spooky cupcakes, and I'm pricing them at $36 a dozen. Priced per dozen, please select flavor per dozen. So just a note to my customers there about what the product is. I can next add an image, and I will choose one from among the images I already have in here. Use selected. And then below that are options to auto scale the image, which is selected by default. You can also require a product. So if you have a mandatory like an insurance add-on fee or something, you can have this product required. You can also have this product selected by default. In this case, I want things to stay as they are, so I'm not going to select either of those. Next, I will go into options. And in options, actually, let me save that before I move forward. So we'll see that pop up now. So then I'll go into options. In options, you can add some options for quantity selector as well as product options. So if you have several different types of each product, you can add that in there. So for quantity selector, you have a drop-down or a text box option. Let's say I want people to be able to buy up to 12 dozen cupcakes. So my label here is dozen cupcakes, and I'll change this to 12. I can also select if I want special pricing as this increases. So for example, I'm currently charging $3 a cupcake for each dozen. But if I wanted to give a discount maybe at 4 cupcakes and charge $2.50 per cupcake at that point, I could change the pricing throughout, until I get all the way through all 12 dozen. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as is, and I'll save the quantity. And I do also want to add in a product option because we do have a couple of flavors available. So the example that you see here, they give you the example of like shoe size. This may also be t-shirt color or mug design or whatever it is that you're selling. Again, in this case, it's flavor. You can create a sub product from each option. So currently you see however many dozen cupcakes I'm selecting is just going to be one flavor option. But if I create sub options, I can have this show up per dozen. So let's say we have chocolate, vanilla, and pumpkin. So that sets it up so that anybody who's ordering multiple dozen cupcakes can actually select how many they want of each flavor. We can also designate special pricing per option. So when I toggle that to on, you see you have the option to set that here. So if I wanted to sell, vanilla cupcakes for $2.50 instead of $3 a cupcake, I could change the price there. But again, I'm going to leave that as is. So that is set. So now I have both of those filled out and ready to go. The last item that you see here is the ability to enable stock control. So in this case, I'm baking to order, so there's no stock control issues. But if you were selling mugs and you have 150 mugs, for example, you might want to set this so that when you get close to 150, close to running out, you can be notified that you're running low and order more if you need to. And also you can set this so that, person who tries to buy mug 151 won't be able to actually purchase because you're sold out. All right, so I'm going to save all of that. And now my product is pretty much ready to go. I can hit this back button to go back to that menu. So that the menu before that. So again, this was a product submenu that we were in. So now that product submenu is all completed. I've done everything for this product there. If I want to add additional products, there is that option to do so there. There's also a settings option here. These are just some settings about the layout. So, if you want to change the layout, how this appears, you can always go into settings and change that around as well. The last couple of things here, again, are coupons, shipping, tax, and invoice. So again, depending on what you're selling and how you're getting it to people, these might apply to you. With regards to coupons, maybe you want to run a promotion on social where you're going to take this generated coupon code and share that on Instagram, and anybody who uses that coupon can get 10% off. But that a code is generated here. You can change that if you'd like, and you can apply whatever the coupon terms are here. With regards to shipping and tax, for shipping, if you are sending things, you probably want to think about that. You can charge per item or per transaction, so flat rate, and you can set that cost here. I'm not shipping in this case, so we'll leave that off. Same thing with tax. If you're selling something that is taxable, you probably want to make sure you're including tax. So currently this is set to charge 10% tax across the board. If you do have an address field in your form, that address field can actually apply the tax rate for whatever, at least within the United States, whatever the state is. You can also, if there are exempted products, so if I'm selling a bunch of things and cupcakes can't be taxed, I can exempt that if I need to. So very helpful to have all of those things included right here. And the last thing here is that you can enable an invoice. This will be a PDF version of any orders that come through. So you can have that for your records, as well as your customers can have that for their records. You can also preview the invoice here. So once you've added in everything you want to make sure it shows up, you can preview the invoice, make sure it looks good, and then adjust as needed. All right, so that is everything I needed to do to set this up. I mean, again, in my case, I'd probably go back and add additional products, but all of that would follow the same process that I just went through. Before I close things out, I do want to give you a look at what customers will see when they get to this order form. So here we have the form as the customer would see it. I've gotten here just by toggling preview form. You can also view, we're currently looking at a desktop view, but you can view on mobile or tablet as well. I know my little video might be blocking those, but you can just see the edge of desktop, and phone and tablet are next to that. So again, here's the order form. All of those initial fields are included, and now we do have the products included as well. If I click on the cupcakes, that's when my different flavors pop up. I can select how many dozen I want of each. The subtotal and tax and then full total are automatically calculated for me. And right below that is where the payment options show up. So if somebody is using credit card, they'll click on that. The credit card information is built into the form here. And if they want to use Apple Pay or Google Pay, that will take them to another page where they'll complete the transaction from there. Now you can see in this case that Apple Pay isn't enabled. So I mentioned in my intro that this will depend on device or browser, but having any mobile wallet availability is always going to help people. And in this case, Apple Pay doesn't show up because I'm currently using a Chrome browser. So Apple Pay would show up if I was using Safari or if I were on my iPhone completing this transaction on my phone. All right, so again, from there, the user would just hit submit. If they're doing Apple Pay or Google Pay, that will take them to another page to complete the transaction, and then they're ready to go and their order is put in. You'll get that information, the invoice, and they will as well. So that's everything I wanted to share today. Again, if you want kind of a more detailed, similar session, that Stripe checkout webinar will be available when we are able to share this recording, which should be by the end of tomorrow. I want to thank you all for being here. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions in these shorter sessions, but those of you who joined me for snack breaks before know that I am more than happy to hear from you. So if you have questions, or if you want to share your examples or, really any feedback, I'd be happy to hear from you. You can send that to me. If I'm not the best person for it, I will quickly share it with somebody on our team who is better equipped, support probably for any questions, and they'll get back to you shortly. I'm Morgan at jotform.com, Morgan at Jotform. We don't have any snack breaks coming up in the foreseeable future, but we do have another webinar next Wednesday with Nicholas Scalise. He is a growth marketer. He's a pretty popular TikToker and YouTuber who is really specialized in many marketing things, but he's going to be talking about optimizing landing pages. So if you are building a business and you want to maximize your landing page, or you have any landing page questions, that'll be a really, really great session. If you have any trouble finding that on our website and signing up there, you can also email me about that. And on that note, I will sign us off. Thanks all for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your days. And if you're in the US, have a good holiday weekend. Bye.